Hello, Suvarus. Minahan Talk Cosmos Chat. It's a daily chat, and today is Sunday, not September, it is January. Yes, it's January 10th, 2021. And I'm contemplating thoughts like so many of us, and on a personal basis, as we navigate through this time. I'm going to share this screen for us right now with a chart because this chart, let's talk about this. This happens to be where I am in Kona. What's really evident is that Mars at 1 degree in the fixed sign of Taurus is square to Saturn. It's actually applying to that square. And Uranus, also in Taurus, is exactly square Jupiter. Meanwhile, we're approaching a new moon. You can see that the moon is 24 degrees Sagittarius and the sun is 21. So these belief systems that we have that are coming to this close through a whole last month cycle from the last new moon is going to be soon at a pinnacle where we can begin a new seed moment of the the new goals that we have. So right now we're in a turmoil. I'm in a turmoil, and that's why I'm sharing. I imagine many of us are. We have Venus that at 3 degrees Capricorn is also approaching a square to Chiron. So if we look at Venus that rules the Taurus, it's this enormous process of really looking at the values that we have and looking at the values that our world is sharing. And of course, what the backbone of this is, it always returns to the fact of the nodes, which are in Gemini, 19 degree opposite 19 degrees Sagittarius, and they're being squared by Neptune up here at 18 degrees, which means the boundaries, there are not any boundaries, but more than that, it is really the sense of how we can cooperate with the forces at large that are greater than ourselves. And yet we have personal domain, and it's those signs and symbols of thinking of how we're going to operate. So back to Mars. Mars here that's being ruled by this Venus, where it's looking at how are we becoming? On what basis, on what grounds? Thinking of always the Capricorn right now, that's the focus of this conversation, is how are we trying to get to those seeds of thought? Because Pluto is really still talking to, well, it's wanting to find the real source of our essential goals. So today I had various objectives. I live here in Hawaii and I'm looking at the ocean. I'm very fortunate. I'm glad for that. It's a constant reminder of the greater energies. But there's a railing and I want to sit up above. So I'm not always looking at the railing because the railing looks a little bit like a prison, right? It's for the protection. I'm up above. So I had to rearrange, and I live in a relatively smaller place. It has more ample space. I'm grateful for this. But what I'm getting at is that the goal to rearrange my space, because one can get stymied, one can get overwhelmed. There are overwhelming energies that we're experiencing from greater forces in one sense of just our environment, of politics, we might say, depending on whatever side you're on. And of course, Capricorn can have fear. So there is an element that needs to break out of that. What can oneself have power and empowerment that encourages their own space? Space is a lot of how we use things. And Capricorn is very useful. It's very practical. So this approaching new moon wants to be practical. So this is just one example that I did finally dislodge what had seemed very sensible, that had been useful, and rearranged my own interior space. And I've decided not to get these chairs. In fact, I'm going to do a new innovative idea. I'm going to raise the platform because they have wood, and I can get a palette or something and put it in that space and decorate it, paint it, and just have a little elevation that isn't so obtrusive, because we're still living in the rules and regulations of the world. And in this particular location I'm living at, they have, I think, some rules that you're not supposed to be too high above the rails so that people don't fall off. Protection, right? What I'm driving at is really, this is essentially Mercury in Aquarius, trying to really navigate between this conjunction, between the grand conjunction of Saturn, the limitations or the structure, and Jupiter of expanded attitudes, one could say, perspective. And they're in breaking rhythm Aquarius, which also has some idea that there's a structure, maybe no structure, but it's concerned with the whole idea. And they're looking at Uranus, which is in Taurus, and also looking at Saturn, which again is looking at Uranus. So that goes back into this action motivation that's applying. Let's get to some cause. Let's work on some terms of something that is giving me new insight, new ability. And so to be on a practical terms, going back to that new moon that we'll be approaching, and the moon is in Sag, but it's also looking at Jupiter. It's like a whole synergetic connection. And that's what life is. If we can just get to one goal, one step, which is so Capricornian, it'll lead us towards a new venture, a new page, a new platform of something that we can work with. So that's one example. Taurus is our survival, it's our foundation, it's where we grow things, it's our earth, it's what we walk on, it's what we touch, what we feel. It's very picturesque, it needs pictures. We've been flooded with pictures on a media, and of course, Aquarius is technological energies, and that's going to be staying with us. You know, in many ways, we're dealing with a situation personally and at large that we have many available goals to set. There's many methods to go forward. One of them is to work with groups. You know, if right now we have Venus in Capricorn that's still ruling both Mars and Uranus in Taurus. And as it and it will be in Capricorn for quite a while. This, you know, it doesn't move that fast. The moon moves the fastest, and on the 12th and 13th, it's going to be connecting with that sun, with the sun. And so it's a time to really flood through these thoughts and our communications with ourself. You know, the nodes again are in Gemini and Sag. It's time to rebuild new belief systems and talk with community and talk to ourselves, throw out ideas and revamp and consider the unusual a little that is in our domain that can help restructure what we have, because it is like dominoes or a pattern. So if we can come up with this kind of energy today, tomorrow will be, I have 3 astrologers from the Moonbeam team, 1 astrologer that'll be joining the Moonbeam team, and together we'll help navigate how a path for our own manifestation we can create. Thank you so much. Please comment below and we'll be connecting again. Thanks.